Hello everyone, this is Rick, and today in this video we are going to discuss about the first general election and state reorganization in India. So this is going to be the first democratic election in India after independence. We are going to see the statistics of the election and what was the result of the election, and then we are going to go into the details of how the states, different federal units in India, were reorganized after independence. So it is going to be an interesting episode, and this is catered according to the syllabus of class 12 ISC board. However, anyone interested in this topic, especially the aspirants of competitive exams, can go through this video. It will help you a lot. The last portion of this video will have questions and answers. You can go through them. It will be beneficial for your exams. Also, please carry a notebook with you so that you can note down the important points. So let's proceed. First general election and state reorganization. So framing of the Indian Constitution. So how did the Indian Constitution come into being? Post-independence challenge. After 1947, Indian leaders faced key issues like framing a democratic constitution, adult suffrage, establishing a secular state, and public administration. Now we are going to go through all of these terms one by one. Democratic constitution means where people will have the ultimate power. Adult suffrage means what will be your voting condition, how much age you need to be in order to cast your opinion in the election. Then there was establishing a secular state. Secular state means one where religion will not be given priority, even though every religion will be respected equally. And then there is public administration, means how all of these processes will be handled. So that was the challenge regarding how to frame the Constitution of India. Various committees were formed for drafting the Constitution of India. So numerous committees were there, and each committee had responsibility of one department. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was appointed the head of a special committee responsible for preparing the draft. It was also called drafting committee. Many people have this idea that B.R. Ambedkar was the one who wrote the constitution. No, he was the person who headed the entire project. Constitution writing was a result of numerous debates among different educated Indians from different fields of life and culture. So B.R. Ambedkar was the head of drafting committee. After much toil and turmoil, a manuscript was prepared and made public. Around 2000 amendments were made after public feedback. So at first they made a manuscript which was more or less rough of the Indian Constitution, and then it was open to the public. So then, according to the reviews of the public, around 2000 amendments have been made. And so we get to understand that the entire decision of the country, of how the country will run, rests on the people of India. The constitution came into force on 26 January 1950, marking the birth of a sovereign democratic republic of India, means where people will have the ultimate power. So constitution started or came into force in 26 January 1950, which is also celebrated as the Republic Day. Since then, 26 January is celebrated annually as the Republic Day. Now, how was the first general election? Democracy means there has to be election, and election should be in a multi-party system. So how was the first election, which was held in 1952? The first general election was held in 1951 to 1952 under the new constitution. This was a historic feat because for the first time election was being held in the largest democratic nation of the world. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first prime minister, believed in granting adult suffrage even in a largely illiterate country. So, even though India was illiterate according to the Western criteria of literacy, but still Jawaharlal Nehru believed that every person who is above 18 years of age should cast their vote. And this process is called adult suffrage. The election had 14 national parties, 53 regional parties, and independent candidates contesting 489 Lok Sabha and 3,283 state assembly seats. So nowadays you will see that there are different votes organized for state assembly and for central parliament, but in those days, in the first election and for the next 3 or 4 elections, it was one election for the entire nation. States and the parliament, the central government, had one election. So this first election had independent candidates contesting in central government, that is Lok Sabha. There were 489 seats, and reg- considering all the state assemblies, in total there were 3,283 assembly seats. Nowadays many parties claim that one election should not be there, states should have different election, and the parties who claim that states should have different elections are the ones who in 1952 supported one election as a whole. 98 Lok Sabha and 669 assembly seats were reserved for the scheduled caste and tribes. So, among the 489 Lok Sabha seats, 98 were reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes who were considered to be the backdated class of the backward class of the society. So 98 seats were reserved for them, and among the 3,283 state assembly seats, 669 were reserved for the scheduled castes and tribes. Sukumar Sen, India's first chief election commissioner, managed the massive electoral exercise. So, this is the first chief election commissioner in India who managed the massive system of Indian election in 1952. 25 lakh ballot boxes and 62 crore ballot papers were used. So these are the logistical things which needed to be done during the election. So 25 lakh ballot boxes in different parts of India were installed, and 62 crore ballot papers were there, which could support the casting of vote for the entire population who was above 18 years of age. 2,24,000 polling booths were set up and 10 lakh officials were deployed. So this was the huge activity in India after independence. First general election. It was a great thing which needed great amount of infrastructural and logistical estimations. Result and impact of the first general election. So what was the result of the first general election? So Congress owns 75% of the Lok Sabha seats and 68.5% of the state assembly seats. So Congress won in every aspect because it was the only majority party by that time. It was the only significant political party uh, which had majority throughout the country. There were other parties like CPM, CPIM, Marxist and leftist ideological parties, but they were not as much dominant as the Congress in 1952 election. So forming governments in most states including Madras, Orissa and Travancore, Cochin. So these were the states where the Congress formed government. The Communist Party and allies became the second largest, winning 20 3 Lok Sabha and 147 assembly seats. So the Communist Party and their supporters, the other parties who were aligned with the Communist Party, they own 23 Lok Sabha seats and 147 assembly seats by getting 4.6% of the votes. Janasangh, Hindu Mahasabha, and Ram Rajya Parishad performed poorly. These were the right wing parties. The latter own only 10 Lok Sabha seats with 6% of total votes. So, with 6% of total votes, the right wing parties could get only 10 Lok Sabha seats. Former royals and big landlords succeeded in some regions. So former royals, people who were who the princely states who joined India, they mainly still respected the royal families, and so those royal descendants also stood in election. So they could get and some big landlords secured some votes in some regions, and they also own few seats in the parliament. Despite absolute power, Congress followed democratic norms and encouraged debate and criticism. So in democracy, the main thing is vote, and the second most important thing is role of opposition. So despite Congress own everything, still they valued the ethics of democracy and provided ample platform for debate and criticism. The press and political leaders like Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee, Ram Manohar Lohia, A.K. Gopalan, J.B. Kripalani, Minu Masani, and Bhupesh Gupta influenced public discourse. So these were great political leaders who contributed a lot in the parliamentary sessions and also contributed a lot to the formation of public discourse. Nehru's commitment to democratic development was key in establishing the foundation of Indian democracy. States before and after the constitution. Now we will see how the boundaries of different states were formed, or what was the ideological basis behind the formation of states in India, and we are also going to see how the internal map of India evolved over time with the creation of new states. So, colonial division of states. How were the states divided before independence? So, before the constitution, states were grouped as A, B, C, and D categories, a legacy of British rule. So, that is how the states were categorized: A, B, C, and D. Post independence, over 500 princely states were asked to join India or Pakistan or stay independent. So, after independence, we have already discussed this in our last video that over 500 princely states wanted to join either India or Pakistan, or few of them also wanted to stay independent. So many princely states merged into provinces. New ones like Rajputana, which reformed into Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Bharat, and Vindhya Pradesh were created. So these were the new states which had been created during the period of 1947 to 1950, because most of the princely states merged to India. So Mysore, Hyderabad, Bhopal and Bilaspur became independent provinces within Indian Union. So these were independent provinces. However, they were under Indian constitution. Who were these states? Once more, Mysore, Hyderabad, Bhopal and Bilaspur. So these were the newly created provinces under Indian Union. So the constitution, effective from 26 January 1950, reclassified India into a union of states. So India is not only a country, but in order to give importance to the difference diversity of culture in India, we termed India as the union of states, so that our cultural diversity never gets lost. So Assam, Bihar, Bombay, Madhya Pradesh, Madras, Orissa, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengals. These were type A states according to the new constitution. So type A states, you can understand from the terminology itself that these were important states. Other state categories were Type B states, which included Hyderabad and Pepsu. Pepsu means the states of Punjab, states surrounding the Patiala region. C-type states included Ajmer and Vindhya Pradesh. D was Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So according to importance of states and their contribution, they were categorized into A, B, C and D. Linguistic reorganization of states. Then came the different cultural identities according to language, and states were reorganized according to the domination of certain languages. How were they reorganized? So the demand started in Orissa in 1895, much before independence, and grew stronger with Bihar Orissa separation demand led by Madhusudan Das in 1936. So this linguistic reorganization of states, or giving importance to states on the basis of language, was not a new phenomenon after independence. It was going on since 1895, when Orissa was demanding a separation from Bihar, and that movement in 1936 was being led by a person named Madhusudan Das. The demand for Telugu speaking Andhra led to the formation of Andhra state in 1953 after Potti Sriramulu's 56-day hunger strike. So the Telugu speaking people demanded Andhra Pradesh, and so in 1953 the state of Andhra Pradesh was formed after a person named Potti Sriramulu fasted for 56 days. It was a revolution in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Bilaspur merged with Himachal on 1st July 1954. Chandannagar, French colony, joined West Bengal in 1955. So these were later additions to certain states. Bilaspur merged with Himachal Pradesh, and Chandernagar, which later on came to be known as Chandornagar, joined West Bengal in 1955. Due to Samyukta Maharashtra movement, Bombay was bifurcated in 1960, creating Maharashtra and Gujarat. So there was the province of Bombay, and the people under Samyukta Maharashtra movement revolted against it. So the entire province of Bombay, I am not talking about the city of Bombay, I am talking about the province of Bombay, was divided, and Maharashtra and Gujarat were the two independent states created. In 1966, Punjab was divided into Punjab and Haryana. So Punjab was Sikh majority and Haryana was Hindu majority. However, Chandigarh became a shared capital. The capital remained same, but according to religion, the territory of Punjab was divided into Punjab and Haryana. Punjab constituting the Sikh majority state, and Haryana had Hindu majority. Jawaharlal Nehru appointed Fazal Ali Commission on 22nd December 1953. Members included Hridaynath Kunzru and P.M. Panikkar. So this was a state reorganization committee appointed by Jawaharlal Nehru, and head was Fazal Ali. Now, what was the final outcome? Fazal Ali Commission led to the creation of 14 states and 6 union territories. So, in 1956, according to mainly language or linguistic reorganization of state was done, according to which there were 6 union territories and 14 states. The act was implemented in November 1956. So from November 1956, India had 14 states and 6 union territories, and thus the ABCD system of colonial categorization of state was abolished. This was mainly abolished in order to show that all states will be treated as equal, not according to their importance. So that was how linguistic reorganization of states happened. Now we will go through the questions and their answers, which will be beneficial in your exam. Write about the first general election. The first general election in India took place in 1951 to 52, marking the beginning of electoral democracy under the new constitution. Elections were held for 489 Lok Sabha and 3,283 state assembly seats, including 98 Lok Sabha and 669 assembly seats reserved for SCs and STs. A total of 14 national parties, 53 regional parties, and many independent candidates contested. Sukumar Sen, the first Chief Election Commissioner, managed the process with exceptional care. The election used 25 lakh ballot boxes, 62 crore ballot papers, and involved 2 lakh 24,000 polling booths and 10 lakh officials. Nehru's decision to grant voting rights to all adults, even in a largely illiterate society, demonstrated immense faith in democracy. Mention the results and impact of the first general election in independent India. The Congress owned 75% of Lok Sabha seats and 68.5% of the state assembly seats, forming governments in most states. The Communist Party of India became the second largest group with 23 Lok Sabha and 147 assembly seats, securing 4.6% votes. Rightist parties like Janasangh and Ram Rajya Parishad own only 10 seats with 6% of the total votes. The elections proved the success of Indian democracy, especially in a newly independent, diverse, and largely illiterate nation. The press, political parties, and trade unions exercise full freedom to voice criticism and dissent. The results strengthened parliamentary democracy with peaceful transfer of power and public participation. Discuss the role of the opposition leaders in the development of democratic environment in Indian political circle. Although the Congress had full control, it respected democratic values and parliamentary debate. Opposition leaders took part in Lok Sabha debates, offering constructive criticism of government policies. Leaders like Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Ram Manohar Lohia, J.B. Kripalani, A.K. Gopalan, Minu Masani, and Bhupesh Gupta played key roles. The opposition ensured freedom of the press, rights of trade unions, and space for alternative political ideologies. Their efforts created checks and balances, curbing any authoritarian tendencies. Opposition leaders helped institutionalize parliamentary practices and encourage public engagement in politics. The first general election in India was a landmark event in the history of independent India. Discuss. Held in 1951-52, this election was the first democratic exercise after independence and the adoption of the constitution. Voting rights were granted to all adults despite high levels of illiteracy and poverty. With 25 lakh ballot boxes, 62 crore ballot papers, and 10 lakh official, it was one of the largest elections in history. The Congress secured a landslide victory, forming governments in major provinces and establishing political stability. Opposition parties like the Communist Party of India and others ensured a pluralistic political environment. The election validated the constitution, proved India's commitment to democracy, and set the precedent for free and fair elections. Discuss the movements in Andhra Pradesh and Orissa for the formation of states on linguistic basis. The movement for linguistic states began with the demand for a separate Oriya speaking province in 1895. Led by Madhusudan Das, Orissa became a separate province in 1936, the first on linguistic grounds. Independence Telugu speaking people demanded a separate state from Madras Presidency after 1947. Freedom fighter Potti Sriramulu fasted for 56 days, eventually dying on 15 December 1952, sparking widespread agitation. The government created the Andhra state on 1st October 1953, carved out of Madras. These movements set a national precedent for linguistic reorganization, pressuring the center to address similar demands in other regions. Discuss the activities of the States Reorganization Commission. The States Reorganization Commission was formed on 22nd December 1953 by Jawaharlal Nehru. The commission was chaired by Fazal Ali with K. M. Panikkar and Hridaynath Kunzru as members to examine the restructuring of states, especially in the context of growing linguistic demands. The commission held hearings across India, collected public opinions, and consulted with political leaders and regional groups. Apart from language, the Commission considered administrative efficiency, economic viability, and national integration. The SRC submitted its report in 1955 recommending the reorganization of Indian states on linguistic lines but with strategic caution. Its findings directly influenced the States Reorganization Act of 1956, which redefined India's internal boundaries. What were the recommendations of the State Reorganization Commission? The SRC recommended reorganization of states primarily on the basis of language but warned against emotional separatism. The Commission opposed forming states solely on regional identity or historical claims unless administratively justified. The report led to the division of India into 14 states and 6 union territories, abolishing the ABCD classification. States like Andhra, Madhya Bharat, Vindhya Pradesh, and Bhopal were merged into larger linguistic entities like Madhya Pradesh. The Commission proposed creating states like Kerala for Malayalam speakers and Mysore for Kannada speakers. States were formed to ensure economic viability, geographic continuity, and administrative efficiency. The States Reorganization Act came into effect in November 1956, realigning India's political map permanently. So that was all about how the Constitution of India organized the first general election, what were the results of the first elections, and then we have seen how the states of India were divided in the British times and how they were reorganized according to the basis of language. We have seen the contribution of different people in all of these processes. Hope this video was important to you and please support me so that I can bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much for your patience.